Summer of 2020, when everything was utopic and everything was just fine. Absolutely nothing happened during the summer of 2020, or 2020 in general. What a peaceful year, right? Right? Eddington is written and directed by Ari Aster and is his fourth feature after Hereditary, Midsummer, and Beau is Afraid, and is out in theaters this weekend. This movie stars Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, Austin Butler, amongst a plethora of other actors. And this takes place in summer of 2020 in the town of Eddington in New Mexico, where during the height of the pandemic, there's a lot of other stuff happening in the town as well, like an upcoming election. And the mayor of the town, Ted Garcia, played by Pedro Pascal, is up for re-election. However, he's being challenged by the sheriff, Joe Cross, played by Joaquin Phoenix, as the two of them do have a rivalry and they lock horns as they're trying to decide what to do with the town in this situation. And as tensions between them are escalating, tensions in the town are also escalating because a lot of things were happening during the summer of 2020 and they're all sort of coming to a boiling point. And I'm not going to say too much more about the plot of the movie because you're just going to have to see it for yourself, but things do get very, very intense as the movie progresses. I actually went into this one pretty blind because something after Hereditary I told myself was like, look, this is a director who I really want to watch out for and I want to give, like my full attention to, but I also want to walk in not knowing anything. Like I walked into Hereditary not knowing a thing about it. And so for Midsummer and Beau is Afraid, I didn't see any trailers. I didn't even see like a frame of it before going in. I saw the posters and that's it. Same thing I did with Eddington just now. I completely like a blind watch for this movie, all of it at once. And it's a very bizarre experience watching this movie, as I'm sure it will be for a lot of people, because historically we just lived through this. Yes, this is a fictional narrative that we're seeing unfold, but so many of the events that are referenced here in this very non-fiction setting, from everything that was happening in terms of, conspiracy surrounding the virus and, trying to find out, how it could be, cured perhaps, and the fact that, people were coming up with all kinds of crazy solutions and all kinds of crazy news reports going around when it came to, what the world was going through because of the virus. And at that time in the summer of 2020, there were also protests, the Black Lives Matter protests, which were happening because of what happened to George Floyd, and there was a lot of tension and strifes during those protests because police and law enforcement were getting involved in very extreme ways, and all of that is in Eddington. There are sprinkles of every single thing that you can remember from social media, the news, conversations that you were having with your relatives, whatever have you, and it's all represented on screen in some shape or form. Aster very much took all of that into account and put it on screen, and it basically tried to tell the narrative that he's telling around that. So in that sense, it's already just such a crazy viewing to have. But as a movie in general, what did I think of Eddington? I think it's going to be a very divisive experience for a lot of people. I think some people will like what Aster is doing over here when it comes to just showcasing this, destabilization of a place and just, the society around, everyone just, completely crumbling into something else. But at the same time, I feel like some people might really hate the movie because some of the things that it's addressing, it doesn't really try to go further than, just having them on screen and maybe not saying as much as he can. I think that the things that it does do well, however, are in terms of the filmmaking. Ari Aster is a really good director, even with Beau is Afraid a couple of years ago, which I was a little bit all over the place on. There were aspects of it where I think that as a director he really did shine, and he made some incredible sequences come to life with what he was doing over there. I can say the same very much with this movie, with Eddington, where there are a few select sequences which are incredibly intense and very well directed, and he did a fantastic job with those. There's also some really great dialogue moments and some really great back and forth between Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal, which is really well executed. And I think they both did a really great job in the movie. I thought Joaquin Phoenix was fantastic over here. His character, as the Joe Cross, the sheriff, it's crazy where some of the places he goes to are. Like it really gets wild, his storyline, and it just seeing Phoenix bring that to life was I mean, he did a really great job with that. I thought Pedro Pascal as Mayor Ted Garcia, I thought he did a really great job too. Some solid work from him over here. I mean, right now we're kind of in the summer of this guy, like Materialist, this, that, good for him. Like, there's a reason this man's getting a lot of jobs. He's a good actor, like, as long as you're killing it, I guess. But I really like the entire cast over here, whether it was, Luke Grimes or Emma Stone or Austin Butler or Michael Ward. I thought everybody did a really great job. And it's also a very well shot movie. The visual style of this thing, it's really well done. Aster's movies, I think, all look really good, and this is another one which is very much like made for a very big screen. I wouldn't be surprised if A24, with like these IMAX experiences that they've been doing recently, they released this one too at some point down the line, because I saw Midsummer in IMAX last year. That was really cool. I feel like they might do that with this, and this would be like pretty bonkers to see some of this play out in that kind of a setting. The score from Bobby Kurlick and Daniel Pemberton, I thought that was really good too. And some of the song needle drops that are in here were also well done, especially one which was very, like, it came out of nowhere. But I'm not gonna tell you what song it is, but it starts playing. It's a very famous, 21st century song that you've heard for sure. And it starts playing in this one scene, and I thought, but they actually used it in a really, like, not too bad a way, like just to showcase what scene was playing out at that point in time. You'll know it when you see it. Like I promise you, like you'll know what scene I'm talking about. So I think, like I said, in terms of all the filmmaking and the performances and everything on display, it's really good. It's really when it comes to like honing in on what it's doing with the story and what it's doing with its different ideas and themes and even its tonal shifts, where it can be a bit abrasive, particularly in the back half, because the first half of this movie has somewhat of a satirical edge to it, and it's showing you a lot of things that are happening, very much referencing other events from reality that were taking place at the time. But then there is a point where the movie does take a turn and things become very different, and the way that Aster is telling the story changes up considerably. This half of the movie, I feel like, is going to affect how viewers see the entire thing, because you'll either appreciate or like the entire way through pretty much what Aster is doing in that bit, or it's just gonna completely fall flat for you. I think that there is a lot in that aspect, like segment of the movie, where I think they did a really good job, and there's a few sequences, particularly this bonkers moment with Joaquin Phoenix, which involves him and being in the middle of the town, which I won't go into too much. I won't spoil much over there, which was really, really well done, and it's terrifically directed, and it's absolutely insane. But I also think that there are some moments where the dialogue becomes a little more direct, and it just becomes a little less subtle, and it sort of starts to lose its edge at that point of time. Still, I do have to commend for the most part what Aster does do over here, and I'd be lying if I said that there weren't a lot of aspects of the movie that I did really enjoy, and that mostly I was kind of having this grand time with the movie. But I also admit that it's not a movie that is going to work for everybody, and that's perfectly fine. If you are someone who completely hates this movie and you watch this review and you're like, what is this guy talking about? I get it. I totally get it. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not made with everyone in mind. I think some people are going to abhor this movie and completely just, run it into the ground, fully expecting that. There are people who are probably going to love it more than I did. I know my friend did. So, you never know with this one. So I'm curious to hear your responses as well as opening weekend commences and what you guys make of Eddington. If nothing else, there is an experience worth having in some way over here, like regardless of how you feel about it, just because there are so many swings that Aster takes, and I just think, I commend the choices, some of them that are made over here. I'm gonna give Eddington a 7.5 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much as always for watching. Look forward to more videos very, very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.